Okay, so I'm making this video to kind of reform my platform. And I guess what I mean by that is kind of make a point about things, kind of prove that you guys can see me, that I'm not completely crazy or delusional. I mean, I know it's not that I don't have struggles in various ways, but um, I'm not, I don't think my ideas are completely irrational or unrealistic. I think that in a world that we currently live in, there's so many issues, there's so many sort of injustices that it's kind of like, you know, unfortunately, there's no productivity in sort of running at those problems and being like, stop it. So I mean, what needs to happen for those things to change? I'm not sure. I don't know what's effective. I don't know what the answer is, or sort of, even if I can make a difference. But I guess for me, it's like I think about living through every day and just kind of knowing in the back of my head and in my heart that, you know, there are these injustices and issues and stuff and so many people in pain and hurting each other and stuff. It's kind of like what is necessary to happen in order to make some sort of statement. And I don't know, I guess there's many things that I see is wrong with the world. Um, and I feel like hugely we can kind of relate that to a structural issue, that there is, a structure, a society that's been constructed in which, people who are vulnerable, people who are in pain and stuff, don't actually get cared for, don't actually matter, and are not thought of beyond sort of the 9 to 5. Here's your soup and sandwich from the sandwich truck, and go back to your hell of a life, and I think right there, like maybe I'll put some religious aspect to it because otherwise I guess this would be kind of pointless for me anyways based on my belief system. But I feel like we're called to a greater thing. Like we're called to truly love each other and live with each other and for each other, and really putting ourselves out there. And I feel like, not to say this to brag, but I feel like in a lot of ways I'm really willing to go out of my way for other people because I think that's what we're supposed to do. I think we're supposed to love each other, and I think we're called to, be humans, like really what humans are. And I don't really think the society is of humans. I think it's, you know, of self centered creatures that have emerged from, what originally it was supposed to be like. And I guess the challenge with that is that when you've kind of emerged and adopted that lifestyle because of the change of society, like everybody's minds are constructed in a certain way. And I mean, how does that, the only way for that to happen is like a relearning, like a new statement to say, okay, what's happening, is it okay? And and something in history that kind of says something about, what's going on. And it's like, what does that need to be? What does that need to look like? What will it take, in order for people to kind of see these things that are so wrong? Like especially when people in certain contexts are so convinced that what they're doing is right and true. And I don't say that in saying that I'm perfect. I know I'm human and have my own mistakes as well, but I think there comes this sort of fundamental need to really give of ourselves more than we already are, and to actually start working towards changing these things instead of kind of sitting around and saying, yeah, these things need to change. And it's too bad that it's like, I'm so sorry that this person's starving to death, or I'm so sorry this person is in so much pain. I'm so sorry, and it's always the same statements. And I mean, even I'm guilty of it in feeling that, what could I even do, because it's such a structural issue. It's so out of my power. I can't go to the government and demand that they give money to the homeless, or that they allocate funds for, mental health services, or any of those things. So to me, it's kind of come to the point where it's like, we've hit this wall in terms of um, yeah, like what can actually be done? What are people actually willing to do? And what is the message that needs to be said? Because I mean, it's so evident that what we're being told is garbage. Like I mean, the internet, the the television, whatever, like the fact that falsifying, news or media is not even illegal, like it's become a profit privatized business. So I mean, really, where do these thoughts that we have come from? And why is it that, for me anyways, having these experiences and thoughts are so distressing that I don't feel like being part of this world is even a fathomable thing for me, because it's just so wrong. So I'm like, I'm not sure what that leaves me, but I guess for me is like, I don't want to be sitting around trying to make these minuscule changes that may or may not even make a difference, or may not even really illustrate a point that I'm trying to have illustrated. That something bigger needs to happen than, sort of the, oh, this mission person went to Africa and fed 30 people, and so, yeah, well, the problem's still there, or there's so many foster kids who have no real connections in life and are faced to kind of face the world by themselves and in total pain and agony and stuff. And and yeah, people can say, yeah, I recognize, yeah, I see how sad that situation is, but it always comes back to, they always go back to their family, they have their families, and that's kind of that, and they may feel bad for a few minutes and push it out of their minds because it's an uncomfortable thought. And so um, that's kind of the tactics that a lot of people use in order to cope with those emotions that are uncomfortable, and also the feelings of not willingness to sort of change those things, or kind of step out and be like, yeah, okay, I'm actually going to do a little bit more than just think about it for a few minutes and feel bad. And I think a lot of these systems that have been set up have been constructed around that very thought in itself. Like I said, the 9 to 5 sort of, I help you during these hours, and if I'm not there, too bad, I'm sorry, you should have came between those hours, kind of thing. Like this whole system, like all the institutions, all the ethic codes, everything that society's built on is built on this mentality. And so, you know, it goes even beyond just a structural issue. It goes beyond an issue of, okay, what sort of is, right and good and true, and what is, our calling as human beings. What are we called to do for each other or be for each other? And yeah, like I think, like, I don't know, you think that there's certain everybody, I'm sure everybody certainly has, one or two people in their life that they feel like they would sacrifice something for, right? And in a lot of cases, people don't have that at all. They would never be um, one of those people that someone would sacrifice themselves for. And so all these people falling through the cracks and stuff are the people that are ignored and just, placed in sort of like an entrapped state, where it's like they have to live their life knowing that, you know, just because they didn't end up with a good circle or a good family or whatever, they're now doomed to sort of this, you know, pit of structure that's been created. Like, for example, again, like, with, I would say, like drug addicts, a lot of people have sort of this perception of like people who, you know, abuse substances and stuff, as if there's some sort of like, oh, they should just quit, they should just get off their ass and get a job and stuff. And the reality is it's way more complex than that. Like there's so many things that have impacted and led them to be there. Like people don't wake up as a child one day when they're 5, 6, 7, and when they're asked, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up, I'm sure they have lots of ambitions and stuff. But surely being a drug addict, or being lonely, or any of those things, like, or living on the streets, is definitely not on that list. And so it leads me to question, why is there so much judgment around like these people who really are just in so much pain, they don't know what else to do. And this society still puts them in this sort of position of, well, oh, here's this service and da 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 whatever, when really, what they need is it was beyond just a detox center. It's beyond just, medication or a really shitty basement apartment. It's way beyond that. Like life is more than that. And so it's difficult when our society doesn't even see that as a problem. They just kind of feel like, well, it's not my brother, it's not my sister, it's not my family member, so it doesn't affect me. So therefore,